What's happening recently on the Afghan-Pakistani border in the zone of the so-called Durand line has begun to attract increased attention. We're talking about the increased armed clashes between units of the Pakistani army and the forces of the Taliban. Let me tell you about one of the recent clashes between them. The Pakistanis invaded the territory of Afghanistan and went deep inside, up to 15 kilometers, after which they tried to equip a stronghold there. Afghan border guards were ordered to attack the so-called enemy. There were casualties on both sides. Then terrible statements were fired. Bashir, the head of the Taliban's intelligence agency, publicly stated that Kabul will rejoice in a war with Pakistan as if it were a war with Israel. In turn, the Deputy Minister of Information of Afghanistan, Zabihullah Mujahid, called the state system of Pakistan foreign and hostile to Islam. There were alarm bells in Islamabad. They began to assert that inspired by the victory over the United States, the Afghan Taliban began to resist the central Pakistani authorities, and the Pakistani branch of the Taliban, which is known as the TTP, Tehreek-e-Taliban Pakistan, has become a lot more active recently. The TTP feel it's their task to reform 220 million Pakistanis and establish a caliphate system like the model the Taliban are working on in Afghanistan. Videos appeared on social media in which the Taliban are pulling out border posts set up by the Pakistani side on the Durand line. These lines were established during the British Empire in 1893 as a result of an agreement between the Afghan Emir Abdurrahman and the Foreign Secretary of the British Colonial Administration in British India, Lord Durand. The lines are a little silly if you ask me, because you can easily get lost and find yourselves in someone else's territory, which in reality often happens. Both before and now in Kabul, regardless of the nature of political power, it's believed that the Durand line is an artificial structure that separates families, tribes and communities. However, Islamabad considers the problem solved and closed, although the Taliban don't think so. The Afghan Pashtuns have a strong desire for the reunification of all Pashtuns within a single state, the project of the so-called Great Pashtunistan. And this is what's making things difficult for the Afghans and the Pakistanis to get along. And I only see the problem getting worse. What's happening now on the Durand line looks extremely mysterious in many respects, since it's not clear who and for what purposes has now begun to move the Taliban in the direction of the Pakistanis and causing clashes to take place. Pakistan supported the Taliban and hoped that the border issues would be resolved. However, this clearly isn't the case. I believe there's an attempt to extend the Afghan destabilization to Pakistan. There's powers from the shadows who have prepared a geopolitical scenario to cause intense clashes between the Afghans and the Pakistanis, and this should be a wake-up call for both Kabul and Islamabad. The potential destabilization of the situation in the Afghan-Pakistani border area hinders the development of the economy of this region, located at the crossroads of southwestern and central Asia. The unstable situation also hinders the economic integration of local countries. This month there's a plan to hold regular meetings of the expanded Troika, which includes Russia, China and the United States and Pakistan. At this forum it's planned to discuss the problems of both the settlement of the situation in Afghanistan and the Afghan-Pakistani relations. We'll have to wait and see what happens. I don't think the problem will go away through Troika or willpower of politicians and authorities of Afghanistan and Pakistan alone. The problem is complex, and of course, powers from the shadows will do everything to aggravate the situation.